They say a king carries the weight of a nation on his shoulders. But what happens when the man under that crown is quietly crumbling, struggling with a condition the world is only beginning to understand? 1 minute, he is the image of regal composure, waving to crowds, smiling for cameras, performing duties handed down through centuries. The next, behind closed doors, the truth is far more unsettling. Just 1 minute ago, William and Harry, the very princes who have lived their own complicated paths, marked by rivalry, tension, and reconciliation, confirmed something shocking about their father, King Charles. His health, sources now reveal, is deteriorating faster than anyone outside the royal family could have imagined. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Imagine waking up one morning to find that the leader you've always relied upon, the symbol of stability, the embodiment of continuity, is suddenly more fragile than you ever thought possible. That's the reality gripping Buckingham Palace right now. A story that has been simmering quietly behind closed doors, hidden from the public eye, has now broken through the tightly controlled media narrative, and the implications are staggering. Not just for the royal family, but for an entire nation, for a commonwealth, and for millions around the world who have grown up with the monarchy as a fixture in their lives. What makes this revelation even more shocking is the source. William and Harry, the brothers whose relationship has been under a microscope for years, spoke out in unison, confirming details that had previously only existed in whispers. For decades, the monarchy has operated under a veil of secrecy. But this time, the veil has been lifted, and the truth is nothing short of dramatic. In a world accustomed to carefully curated appearances, where smiles mask strain and formal appearances mask vulnerability, what we're seeing now is unfiltered, raw, and unsettling. So what exactly has changed? What signs were overlooked by the public? And what did William and Harry witness that forced them to speak out? The first clues emerged in small, almost imperceptible ways. A limp noticed during an official engagement, a pause in conversation that suggested exhaustion rather than contemplation, subtle changes in speech or gesture. For the casual observer, these details might have seemed trivial, easily dismissed as the ordinary consequences of age or the demands of a rigorous schedule. But insiders knew better. Those who see the king day in and day out, who understand the nuances of his health, noticed patterns that were increasingly alarming. William and Harry, despite the personal and public conflicts that have defined their recent years, united in concern. They set aside differences that the tabloids and public commentary had often amplified. There is something inherently striking about this moment. Two brothers, whose lives have been marked by separation, misunderstanding, and media-fueled conflict, coming together over a single, undeniable truth. Their father is not well. The gravity of that moment cannot be overstated. For the first time, the world is seeing the monarchy not as an abstract institution, but as a human family, vulnerable, complicated, and deeply affected by circumstances beyond their control. It is difficult to overstate how significant this is. Monarchs are symbols. They are meant to embody continuity, stability, and the projection of strength. But beneath the public persona, there is a private reality that few ever glimpse. King Charles, now in his late 70s, has faced decades of scrutiny, stress, and relentless public expectation. These pressures, while invisible to the masses, can take an enormous toll on physical and mental health. And now, the consequences of that toll are becoming apparent. Doctors, aides, and palace insiders report that his condition is worsening at a pace that is both unexpected and alarming. What exactly is happening? Some reports suggest that the king is dealing with a combination of chronic conditions, the details of which have been closely guarded from the public. Others hint at sudden developments that have taken even the most seasoned palace staff by surprise. There are whispers of emergency consultations, of meetings held behind closed doors with specialists, of urgent discussions about contingency plans. For decades, the monarchy has perfected the art of discretion. This is one of the few times in recent memory that the truth seems poised to break through, unfiltered, and the timing could not be more dramatic. For William and Harry, this revelation comes at a time when their relationship has been in a state of cautious reconciliation. There have been public appearances together, shared statements, subtle acknowledgments of mutual respect, and the slow, careful rebuilding of trust. Now, that fragile equilibrium is tested by the harsh reality of their father's condition. Their confirmation of his health status is not just an update. It is a statement loaded with emotion, responsibility, and perhaps even fear. But what does this mean for the monarchy as a whole? For decades, the institution has managed transitions with careful choreography. Abdications, regencies, and successions are orchestrated with precision. The British public, the Commonwealth, and global observers are accustomed to seeing a facade of order and continuity. Yet the confirmation from William and Harry exposes the tension between public perception and private reality. The monarchy is not just a historical institution, it is a living, breathing family, and families face crises. The world may be unprepared for what this could mean. Not only for the king but for the line of succession, the balance of influence within the royal household, and the very narrative of stability that has been carefully maintained for generations. In many ways, this moment is a microcosm of a larger tension between image and reality, tradition and transparency. For centuries, monarchs have relied on image management, ritual, and protocol to maintain authority. Public appearances, ceremonial duties, and media narratives have long been tools for projecting power and continuity. But here, for the first time in a long while, the private reality intrudes on the public spectacle. William and Harry's confirmation acts as a rupture in the carefully curated image, revealing the human vulnerability behind the crown. Consider the public reaction. Social media is already buzzing with speculation, concern, and debate. Hashtags trend within minutes. Opinion pieces emerge by the hour. And yet, the most dramatic reactions are happening behind palace walls, away from the cameras, where the brothers, aides, and advisors grapple with the implications of this revelation. What to disclose, how much to reveal, and when to act. All these questions demand answers under the glare of unprecedented scrutiny. It's easy to forget, in the swirl of headlines, that this story is about real people navigating extraordinary circumstances. King Charles is not just a symbol. He is a father, a husband, and a man whose life has been shaped by decades of expectation and responsibility. William and Harry are not just princes. They are sons grappling with the weight of knowledge that is both deeply personal and inherently public. Their confirmation of his condition is an act of courage, a moment of honesty that challenges the carefully maintained narrative of the monarchy. As we explore the details in the chapters to come, we will examine the private moments that led to this revelation, the decisions that William and Harry had to make, and the emotional and political ramifications that ripple far beyond the palace walls. You will hear accounts from insiders, reports of secret meetings, and moments of tension that the public rarely sees. This story is not just about illness. It is about family, duty, loyalty, and the extraordinary pressures of living under the world's most scrutinized roof. And yet, even with all that has been confirmed, there is still a lingering sense of uncertainty. What is the full extent of King Charles's condition? How will this affect the monarchy, the family, and the public perception of the crown? One thing is clear, nothing will be the same. The moment William and Harry spoke out, the narrative changed. A veil was lifted, revealing truths that some may not have been ready to confront. They say the crown is heavy, but few understand just how heavy until they see the toll it takes on the one who wears it. King Charles, now in his late 70s, has spent a lifetime under the glare of public attention, expectation, and scrutiny. Every gesture, every word, every appearance has been analyzed, critiqued, and dissected by millions. To the world, he is composed, articulate, and unwavering. Behind closed doors, however, a different story emerges. A story of private struggles, quiet battles, and a body and mind beginning to show signs of strain. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. A pause here, a slight hesitation there. Observers in his inner circle, those closest to the king, noticed the small changes first. During meetings, he would sometimes lean back, as if gathering strength, or rub his hands together with an intensity that betrayed discomfort. Courtiers and aides, conditioned to decode the unspoken language of royalty, began to whisper among themselves. Nothing had yet reached the level of crisis, but the pattern was undeniable. King Charles's health has always been carefully guarded from public scrutiny. Official statements spoke of routine checkups, minor treatments, and the usual signs of aging. But anyone familiar with high-level medical oversight knows that even small signs can indicate larger, underlying issues. In Charles's case, insiders reported fatigue that lingered longer than usual, persistent headaches, and subtle declines in mobility. These are not dramatic, immediately life-threatening symptoms, but in someone of his age and responsibilities, they are warning signals, a way of the body signaling that it is carrying a burden it can no longer conceal. Sleep has become a recurring issue, sources say. The demands of state visits, ceremonial duties, and private engagements leave little room for rest. Insiders described nights spent awake, reviewing documents or planning speeches, his mind racing even when his body demanded reprieve. Sleep deprivation, compounded over years, affects not just energy levels, but also cognitive clarity and emotional resilience. Those closest to the king noticed moments of irritability, lapses in concentration, and a subtle retreat from extended social engagements. It is not just physical strain that is at play. Emotional and mental stress weigh heavily, often invisibly, on those in positions of extreme responsibility. King Charles has long navigated complex relationships within the royal family, particularly with his sons William and Harry, as well as the intricate dance of public expectation. Each public appearance is a balancing act, conveying strength without arrogance, compassion without vulnerability, authority without alienation. Over decades, these invisible pressures accumulate. Recent reports indicate that these pressures may be intensifying. Medical experts close to the palace have reportedly recommended a scaled-back schedule, more rest, and careful monitoring of cardiovascular and neurological health. Yet the nature of royal duty makes complete withdrawal impossible. The monarchy functions not as a private enterprise, but as a living symbol of continuity and tradition. To step back entirely, even temporarily, risks public perception, political stability, and familial expectations. For King Charles, there is no simple path to rest or recuperation. Insiders have also noted subtle changes in his diet and exercise routines. Once disciplined in physical fitness and nutrition, the king has reportedly struggled to maintain regularity in both areas. Meals are sometimes skipped or delayed due to engagements, while physical activity has become more measured. Doctors caution that even small lapses, when combined with high stress and aging, can exacerbate health conditions. Heart health, mobility, and overall stamina are increasingly points of concern. The king's private medical team has become increasingly vigilant. Secret consultations, more frequent diagnostic tests, and close observation have all been part of a quietly orchestrated strategy to maintain his health without alarming the public. Sources suggest that some specialists have been brought in for targeted evaluations, while others have focused on preventive care. Yet despite this attention, the underlying reality is clear. Charles's body is signaling limits that cannot be ignored. Beyond the physical, the emotional toll is profound. The king is not only a monarch, but a father, husband, and figurehead. Balancing these roles is an intricate, often painful act. William and Harry's estrangement and reconciliation have added layers of complexity. Every family interaction carries weight, every disagreement is magnified, and every moment of vulnerability is scrutinized, even if only internally. Emotional exhaustion, combined with physical strain, can create a feedback loop that accelerates decline. Observers close to the royal household have reported small but telling moments. A hand resting heavily on a railing, a subtle wince after standing for long periods, the occasional pause mid-conversation. These moments are fleeting but carry significant meaning for those trained to recognize them. In a life defined by appearances, even the smallest crack in composure is a signal that something is amiss. Some of the king's closest aides have voiced concern over the increasing frequency of these signals. Yet in royal tradition, privacy is paramount. The palace operates on a code of discretion, issues are addressed internally, and the public is shielded from distressing details unless disclosure is unavoidable. This culture of privacy has historically allowed the monarchy to maintain its image, But it also means that when serious concerns arise, they often go unnoticed until confirmed by insiders or family members. William and Harry, now reunited in concern over their father's well-being, reportedly witnessed these struggles firsthand. Their confirmation of his condition is more than just an update. It is a validation of what insiders have long suspected. They have seen him fatigue after engagements, observed moments of discomfort, and noted subtle but undeniable signs of decline. It is this first-hand knowledge, combined with their positions as sons, that lends weight and urgency to their statements. It is important to understand the broader context. Charles has spent a lifetime preparing for the crown, but preparation does not make one immune to the frailties of age and the relentless pressures of leadership. Every monarch in history has faced similar challenges: the burden of expectation, the demands of visibility, the invisible pressures of decision-making that affect millions. What makes Charles's situation particularly poignant is the convergence of age, public scrutiny, and family dynamics at a time when both health and legacy are under consideration. Despite these challenges, King Charles continues to fulfill his duties with remarkable discipline. Public appearances, speeches, and ceremonial events continue to be executed with precision. Yet those closest to him acknowledge that behind each smile, each measured gesture, there is a private reality of struggle. And as this struggle becomes increasingly visible to those within the royal inner circle, it prompts questions not just about his health, but about the sustainability of the monarchy under such strain.